Imagine stepping into, like, the biggest job interview of your entire life.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Right, so you're ready to showcase years of elite athletic training. Just a physical skill set you have bled to perfect.
Yeah, you're at your absolute peak.
Exactly. And the executives, they just slide a guitar across the desk and tell you, we're going to make you a country singer.
Oh, man. I mean, it sounds like some bizarre fever dream.
It really does.
Yeah.
But that is the exact corporate reality we're dissecting today.
Oh,
Welcome to the deep dive, by the way.
glad to be here. And, when you look at a traditional professional resume, there's always this expectation of a clean, logical progression.
Right, like a ladder.
Exactly. You start in the mailroom, you move up to middle management, eventually, maybe you become the VP. You can point to the rungs on the ladder and say, there it is. That makes perfect sense.
But when you look at the career trajectory we're pulling from today's stack of source material, that ladder isn't just broken. It's like you're building a resume in disappearing ink.
That is a great way to put it.
So for this deep dive, we're examining a comprehensive Wikipedia article detailing the career of American professional wrestler Wildcat Chris Harris.
And we're going to extract a masterclass in career reinvention from this.
Yeah, that and the counterintuitive power of joining forces with your worst enemy, plus the incredibly harsh, sometimes brutal realities of corporate branding.
We're basically tracing a narrative arc that shows a performer constantly navigating that brutal tension between what he wants to be and what the industry literally demands him to be.
It's rough.
It is. It's a pure case study in surviving an ecosystem that actively punishes you for trying to climb the traditional way.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand Chris Harris, we have to look at him not just as a 6'4", 250-pound athlete from Fort Wright, Kentucky.
Right.
We have to look at him as a proxy for anyone, including you listening right now, who is trying to build a personal brand in an industry that views you as, well, entirely disposable.
Which is a lot of industries these days.
It's so true. So we start at the foundational struggle, finding out who you are, and more importantly, what the market will actually buy. Harris debuted way back in November 1994.
So he's working the absolute ground floor at this point.
Yeah.
He's taking matches in the Kentucky independent circuit for regional promotions, like the Northern Wrestling Federation.
And the pay is probably terrible.
Oh, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
The crowds are small, but he's getting the reps in. He's building the physical foundation of his craft.
Paying his dues. And he does this for years. He even gets a tiny taste of the big leagues in August 1996, making 2 appearances on WWF Superstars.
A huge deal for an indie guy.
Huge. But the real break comes in October 1999 when he signs a developmental deal with World Championship Wrestling, WCW.
The big leagues.
Right. Now, think about you in your own career. You finally get the job at the major firm. You're ready to show them what you can do. And management, specifically a guy named Terry Taylor, pitches that country singer gimmick.
Wait, really? A country singer?
Yes. How close was he to having a totally disastrous career trajectory right out of the gate?
I mean, that is a terrifying prospect. Because if management saddles you with a novelty act and the audience rejects it, the executives don't blame their bad idea.
Of course not.
They blame you. They label you a failure and they fire you. Thankfully for Harris, higher-ups rejected the pitch.
Thank goodness. But it makes you think, how many times have you accepted a project at work that felt completely inauthentic to your skills just because leadership told you it would give you, like, visibility?
Oh, totally. You take the gig, but it destroys your soul a little bit.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how quickly the industry strips away your autonomy. When management doesn't buy your original pitch, they just start projecting their own desperate ideas onto you.
Yeah, you become a blank canvas for their bad ideas.
Right, because the country singer idea fell through. Harris was relegated to wrestling on WCW's B shows, programs like Worldwide and Saturday Night.
He's fundamentally a background player.
Yeah, he's even working as an extra in a faux security detail called R&B Security. You just become a product at the mercy of the executives.
And then comes the absolute peak of losing your own identity.
Oh boy.
Halloween Havoc, the year 2000. WCW actually has Chris Harris go out to the ring playing a fake version of their biggest franchise star, Sting.
Wow. Let's dissect the psychology of that for a second.
Please do.
It is one thing to be a background player. It is another to be asked to mimic another living person's mannerisms, to wear their exact face paint and clothes.
It's wild.
You're the understudy who is only allowed on stage if you completely erase yourself. The physical and mental toll of that has to be immense.
Because the crowd isn't reacting to you.
Exactly. The crowd is cheering or booing the intellectual property of Sting, not the athletic execution of Chris Harris.
So when you spend years wearing someone else's mask in a company like WCW, the only way to survive when that company eventually folds, which it did in 2001, is to completely reinvent how you work.
You have to pivot.
You have to find someone who covers your blind spots. And that happens for Harris in June 2002.
Right. He finds his way to a new startup promotion called Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Harris gets a tryout match in TNA. And it is against his longtime rival from the independent circuit, a guy named James Storm.
A classic indie rivalry.
Yeah. They're put together by a promoter named Burt Prentice. They both get short-term contracts. But instead of keeping them as bitter rivals, the creative force behind TNA, Bob Ryder, decides to put them together as a tag team.
Which is a phenomenal pivot.
It really is.
Neither man had truly broken out as a solo star yet. They had all this history and chemistry from wrestling against each other, and Ryder recognized a vital business strategy, the rivalry to partnership pipeline.
I love that concept. It is like an open source merger.
How do you mean?
Well, imagine you have two tech founders who spent years trying to bankrupt each other, battling for the same tiny sliver of market share. And then, one day, they realized their codes actually integrate perfectly. Storm had the loud, brash charisma. Harris had the intense, technical powerhouse foundation.
They patched each other's bugs.
Exactly. But how do you go from trying to outshine a rival on the indie circuit to having to completely trust them with your physical safety in your career?
That's the thing. The mechanism of a tag team requires a total suspension of ego. Think about the physical reality of it.
Right.
You are putting your bodily safety in the hands of a guy you were trying to outshine just a week prior. If your partner misses a cue, you could break your neck.
It's literally life or death sometimes.
Yeah, they took all that competitive tension and channeled it into a shared physical language.
And the results are immediate. By September 2002, they survive a gauntlet for the gold match to win their first NWA World Tag Team Championship.
And for the listener who might not know, a gauntlet for the gold isn't your standard match.
No, not at all.
It's a chaotic, timed entry battle royal where endurance and 360-degree situational awareness matter significantly more than raw strength.
So the fact that a newly formed team survived that specific mechanism shows how seamlessly they integrated.
Exactly. And Storm actually coined the name for their joint venture, America's Most Wanted, or AMW.
Such a great name.
And they didn't just win that championship once, they won it 6 times together.
6 times? That's a dynasty.
It is. They received massive industry validation, too, winning the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Tag Team of the Year in 2004 and the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Tag Team of the Year in 2005.
They were so successful that Harris actually rejected an offer from writer Vince Russo to join a major villain faction called Sports Entertainment Extreme, SEX.
He turned down a massive solo push.
Yeah, he looked at a shortcut to the main event and said, "No, I am sticking with my partner," and it pays off. In 2004, AMW puts on the match of the year against another legendary team, Triple X, inside a steel cage.
You have this incredible high. They are at the absolute top of the mountain.
But in any entertainment sector, unchecked success kind of breeds corporate impatience, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Management looks at a golden goose and wonders how they can carve it up to feed twice as many people.
Which brings us to the inevitable pressure to break up the band. It's December 2006. AMW is in a match against a rival team. And, in professional wrestling, corporate divorces are violent.
Very violent.
James Storm turns on Harris. He hits him with a beer bottle, which temporarily blinds Harris in one eye. Now, why do wrestling promotions always insist on breaking up their most popular merchandise-selling teams?
This raises an important question about the mathematics of sports entertainment.
Right.
The promotion is running a calculation. A successful tag team sells a steady stream of $20 T-shirts, but a violent blood feud betrayal...
Oh, that sells pay-per-views.
Exactly. That sells $50 pay-per-views. The executives are betting that the emotional investment the fans have in the friendship will translate into a highly lucrative grudge match.
It is a massive gamble, though. You are destroying a proven multi-year revenue stream for a hypothetical spike in quarterly earnings.
It really is.
And they use a mechanism called kayfabe to sell it. Kayfabe is the industry practice of presenting staged storylines as absolute, genuine reality to maintain the audience's emotional investment.
Which is why Harris actually disappears for a bit.
Right. He sells the eye injury, and then he comes back wearing an eye patch for revenge.
The problem, though, is the execution of the feud itself.
It was rough.
The company burdens this deeply emotional betrayal with a terrible gimmick match. At the Lockdown pay-per-view, they book a 6 sides of steel blindfold match.
Oh, no.
Both men are blindfolded inside a cage.
Which fundamentally breaks the visual language of wrestling. If the performers can't see each other to safely execute athletic maneuvers, the audience is just watching two guys stumble around for 15 minutes.
It was universally panned. It was actually voted the worst worked match of the year in 2007.
Imagine being half the tag team of the year, and then 2 years later, you were putting on the worst match of the year with that exact same person.
It highlights the wild inconsistency of a solo push. The company just didn't know how to package Harris without his better half.
But to Harris's credit, they follow it up at the Sacrifice pay-per-view with the Texas Death Match. His vision is magically restored, they drop the blindfolds, and they just rely on sheer brutality.
And Harris defeats Storm in what was considered a deeply redeeming bout.
He bounces back, yeah. But a redeeming match isn't always enough to save a job. He enters feuds with names like Christian Cage and Dustin Rhodes playing Black Reign at the time, but the momentum is just a mirage.
The solo superstardom never fully materializes.
No. In January 2008, TNA releases Chris Harris from his contract.
So he is out on his own again. But the wilderness period is short. Within weeks, he gets the call to the major leagues.
The big one.
Yeah, January 29, 2008, he signs a contract with World Wrestling Entertainment, the WWE.
He signs in January, and in March, he wrestles what the industry calls a dark match. Now, a dark match is essentially the ultimate corporate probationary period.
It's an untelevised bout held in front of the live arena audience before the broadcast begins.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes job interview where the executives watch to see if you can control a major league crowd. One wrong move, and they could pull the plug before you ever debut on TV.
But he passes the test. On July 8, 2008, he makes his official WWE television debut on their ECW brand.
But this is where the corporate machine really shows its teeth. You would think, okay, they just signed a critically acclaimed 6-time tag team champion, a guy known globally as Wildcat Chris Harris.
Right, you'd leverage that built-in fan base.
But no, he walks out on national television, and the announcers introduce him as Braden Walker.
A completely new, utterly generic name with zero backstory.
So what does this all mean? It blows my mind. It is identical to a tech giant acquiring a beloved, quirky competitor just to kill their software and harvest the patents.
That's exactly what it is.
Let's say a massive corporation buys your favorite local coffee shop. The first thing they do is paint over the sign, throw out the secret recipe, and rename it Coffee Store Number 4.
It hurts just thinking about it.
Why on earth would WWE strip away the Wildcat persona that worked for a decade just to make him Braden Walker?
It is the stark, unyielding reality of corporate intellectual property law. In that era, WWE's business philosophy was aggressively focused on owning their characters from the ground up.
So they didn't want him using a name he made famous elsewhere.
Exactly. They did not want to promote the name Chris Harris because he had built the equity of that name in a rival company. They couldn't trademark it exclusively.
Unbelievable.
They wanted to promote Braden Walker, a trademark that they invented, owned, and could merchandise without paying him any legacy royalties if he eventually left.
It's a completely sterile approach to art.
It really is.
Yeah.
The mechanism of stripping a performer's history is designed to leave them with zero leverage at the negotiating table.
But there's a fatal flaw in that strategy.
Right. Oh, a massive one. When you strip away the history, the edge, and the identity of the performer, you are left with an empty shell. You are asking the audience to invest in a blank slate, and they simply have no reason to care.
And the Braden Walker experiment was an unmitigated disaster. He defeats a wrestler named Armando Estrada. He gets a pinfall victory over a guy named James Curtis. And then
the corporate machine just stops.
Yeah. On August 7th, 2008, less than a single month after his television debut, he is abruptly released from his WWE contract.
It's heartbreaking. You spend over a decade clawing your way up the mountain. You endure the indie circuit, the bad gimmicks, the broken partnerships.
Everything.
You finally reach the summit. The biggest company in the world signs you. and you discover that you simply do not fit their corporate mold.
They slap a legally compliant label on you.
And when the audience rejects that label, the executives don't blame the branding, they blame you, and you take the fall.
Being violently rejected by the corporate machine doesn't mean your story is over, though. It just forces you to figure out where your actual value lives.
Which is a tough lesson to learn.
Very tough. Which leads us to our final section: nostalgia, legacy, and the long tail of a career. For Harris, reclaiming his legacy meant returning to the roots he planted long before WWE tried to erase them.
By September 2008, he's back in the Northern Wrestling Federation. That's the exact regional promotion where he started in the mid-90s, challenging for their heavyweight championship.
And he works for Full Impact Pro in 2009.
Yeah.
But the most incredible part of this later career phase is his relationship with his own strange history. In June 2010, he makes a one-night return to TNA.
Okay.
And the character he portrays is almost too poetic to believe. He returns playing a fake Sting character.
No way.
Yes.
A full decade after he was forced to wear another man's mask in WCW, he is doing it again. It's a brilliant acknowledgement of the cyclical nature of the wrestling business.
And then, in May 2011, he makes a more formal return to TNA as part of a villainous stable called Immortal.
Oh, I remember this. He's brought in by Matt Hardy to be his tag team partner.
Right. And who are they challenging for the tag team championship? A team called Beer Money, Inc., which consists of Robert Roode and James Storm.
The booking is incredibly layered there. He is teaming up against the very man who helped him find his identity.
But the magic of the early 2000s just isn't there. They lose at the Sacrifice pay-per-view, and in a perfect narrative twist, it is James Storm who pins Chris Harris.
Wow.
After that, TNA quietly moves on, and Harris steps away. You would assume that is the definitive end of the book.
It seems like a natural stopping point.
But it isn't. If we jump forward a whole decade to March 2021, Harris makes a surprise return to the company, which is now operating under the name Impact Wrestling.
Okay, so he comes back again.
Yeah, but he isn't there to fight James Storm. He appears at ringside to support James Storm in his 1,000th match for the company, actively helping him defeat the villain, Eric Young.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the true mechanics of a legacy here.
How so?
Well, the corporate executives in 2008 thought Chris Harris only had value if they owned his name.
Right, the whole Braden Walker thing.
Exactly. But returning for Storm's 1,000th match proves that career longevity isn't about the peak moments of corporate validation. It is fundamentally built on the shared history between a performer, their peers, and the audience.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop with a single cameo. In 2022, they do full-blown America's Most Wanted reunions.
Oh, that's awesome.
At the Slammiversary event, they come to ringside. At Against All Odds in July 2022, Harris and Storm actually lace up the boots and team with the Good Brothers and Heath Slater to win a match.
In 2022.
Yes. They wrestled together as recently as September 2023. You have to marvel at the sheer physical resilience required to be taking bumps, literally throwing your body at the wooden floorboards hidden under a thin wrestling mat in your late 40s and early 50s.
The fans in 2023 weren't cheering for Braden Walker, the corporate trademark. They weren't cheering for a guy wearing Sting's face paint. They were cheering for the authentic human being who bled to give them America's Most Wanted.
So let's distill this down. As you are navigating your own career, what can you take away from the wild ride of Wildcat Chris Harris?
There's a lot to unpack there.
First, finding your true professional identity might require the counterintuitive step of merging your talents with your fiercest rival. Sometimes your biggest competitor is the only person who knows how to cover your blind spots.
Oh, absolutely.
Second, you have to be deeply wary of the corporate rebranding machine. An executive will erase years of your hard work in the blink of an eye just to secure an IP trademark.
Just another coffee store number 4.
Exactly. But ultimately, your legacy doesn't live in a corporate filing cabinet. It lives in the genuine, authentic connections you make with the people of the trenches alongside you.
I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
We look at the Braden Walker era as a massive failure of corporate branding. But what if, by some strange twist of fate, that generic persona had actually clicked with the WWE audience?
Oh, wow.
What if Braden Walker became a multi-million-dollar sensation? It forces you to wonder how much of success in any career is actually based on your raw, undeniable talent, and how much of it is simply having the right arbitrary label applied to you by the right executive at the exact right moment?
That is a fascinating question. It really makes you look at the labels you wear in your own professional life.
Yeah.
Are you a wildcat, fighting for your authentic identity, or are you just Braden Walker, playing a part so the company can own the trademark? Think back to that burning upside-down ladder we talked about at the start.
The disappearing ink.
Yeah. Maybe the goal isn't just to climb the rungs they put in front of you. Maybe the goal is to survive the fire without forgetting who you actually are.
Couldn't have said it better.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.